and welcome to Dear Baddies, Boyfriends, Bitches, Dating, and Everything in Between. This is a special edition podcast episode. We've got Owen from Dating with Owen and also Charlotte Warren. Thank you both so much for jumping on this podcast. We're so excited to talk to you. As you know, Owen, he's got Instagram and TikTok, massive following, as well as Charlotte. But so on today's podcast, we want to address a couple things. Cuffing season, dating apps, the Adam Levine bullshit. Also, what is that? Let's go ahead and dig right in. So, Charlotte, I am super curious to know your take on cuffing season.
Oof, cuffing season. So one thing I disagree with cuffing season, I think some people think of it as you see the, more organized take where it's like, oh, this is draft day, this is your Super Bowl. I think it's a more natural thing that just sort of happens, with or without a term for it. I think you see people where, it cools down, you're out a hot girl summer, you got people that want to go to pumpkin patches, wear cute sweaters. You've got tentpole events, as I call them, coming up at the holidays. So holiday parties where you might want to date or something like that. So I think naturally you just gravitate toward wanting some sort of companionship. And I think what ultimately happens is as you get closer to February, that excitement toward that person, just isn't strong enough to maintain that connection, that romantic connection, through into, the summer or spring months. I think Valentine's Day tends to be the cutoff for it because that's usually a sign that you're getting pretty serious. You take someone for a date on Valentine's Day and you break up with them after Valentine's Day. You get in a little bit deper. So I usually think that's kind of your cutoff as far as cuffing season. But I do think it's more of a natural thing versus people saying oh, I'm going to go find my, I'm going to go find my person for cuffing season. So that's the one thing I disagree with about it. But I think there's a lot of little milestones in between, as far as just all the different aspects of those months that are better to have somebody with. So that's my take. I think, as a whole, people gravitate towards wanting to be with somebody.
Oh, and would that be pretty spot on with your opinion of it as well?
A little bit. I don't think people, personally, I don't think they're all right, it's December 1st. I got to ask them to be my girlfriend. So I definitely do think that there's definitely a little bit of in between where definitely people realize around, Valentine's Day, all right, things are getting more serious. Am I going to commit to them or am I going to, let them go? And it kind of just I feel like it just ends up happening around that timeline. I don't think people necessarily are looking at the calendar and they're all right, we got to go.
I think you're right.
It just depends. It's somewhere in between.
Charlotte, I like how you said hot girl summer because I know every May I'm all right, let's get ready for hot girl summer, But so let's say that you actually meet someone during hot girl summer and what's the line in the sand? What's the cutoff date before you get to the holidays and you have to continue, dating this person throughout the holidays?
Well, I think Owen had a good take on it. I do think it's also seasonal and based on the weather. I think maybe, I don't know if Owen's version of cuffing season starts a little bit earlier because he's out in the DMV area. In Texas, it's still hot outside. People are still getting boats on Saturdays. So I might lean toward that October timeline. I also grew up in California, so I think it's really about the seasons. I think if you live in Michigan, you've got pumpkin patches, cuffing season started. I think Texas, there's still a few more weekends of boat season. I do think if you meet someone during your hot girl summer, and you really like them, it probably means you really like them because you're foregoing a lot of girls trips, all those other things that come up in the summer where you might want to be single for it. You probably really like someone if you've met someone in the summer and you're not looking anywhere else.
So I also have, so besides cuffing season, because this is something, Valentine's is around the corner and people oh, I need to find someone. So they start kind of after New Year's and be okay, so where am I going to find, because I don't want to be on Valentine's by myself or anything. What's your intake on that?
Oh, that's an interesting one because I think, it's tough when you're two really great dates in with someone and Valentine's Day is coming up. What do you do? You go on a date on Valentine's Day. It's kind of shoot, this makes it seem more serious. I could see someone, hopping on a dating app and, having fun with it and saying oh, haha, just, two kids having fun. Let's do a Valentine's Day date for a first date. But once you're a few dates in, it's kind of what is that one? Like, what do you do as a date or a gift or something like that? So I think that like meet someone in January is a very tough time to jump into cuffing season late in the game. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear Owen's take on it.
I personally don't go on dates on Valentine's Day. I don't know if it's an intentional thing or maybe like, the game done changed around that time for me. So personally, I'm not against going out on a date on that day, even if it's been like 4 or 5 dates. I'm not against it. I obviously wouldn't. I'm not gonna do like the $150 dinner with like roses and candles at the table. But I'll be like, hey, you want to like go get a bite somewhere and chill? Like we don't have to go to like a 5-star Michelin star restaurant, but we can go somewhere nice, get a bite, get some drinks, and just enjoy each other's company. I feel like level setting is like pretty like important too, depending on like the venue and the ambiance. Like that can kind of like maybe give like the wrong expectation, or maybe it can like temper it down and be like more relaxed and less stuffy.
Do men even give a shit about Valentine's Day?
Yeah,
that's like,
I would say so.
Yeah, okay. I'm curious because I'm 35, so I've obviously dated a while, but I've kind of changed my tune because there's a lot of men that I've dated that they hate Valentine's Day or they don't give a shit about Valentine's Day. So I make it into, if I am dating someone, I'll make it into, hey, let's go buy lingerie and get pizza or something, like something memorable but not too over the top, and I don't ever have any expectations about it unless the expectation is already set in the beginning,
What do you mean in terms of expectation?
So I guess, well, I think that's a loaded question. So
Yeah.
if I meet someone in January, I probably, depending on how often that we've gone out, like if we're going out once a week, I'm probably not going to expect anything, come February 14th. It would have been 6 dates by that point. So, yeah. But we're hanging out every day. We're talking all the time. We're texting all the time. We're together, even if we're not physically together. Then I probably would put a little bit more emphasis on, hey, maybe we should do something a little bit more special. But at the same time, I'm one of the girls that really doesn't care about Valentine's Day. And I know everybody says that, but I'd rather do something a little bit more, I guess, outside of the box than like dinner and flowers.
I think that it's what Valentine's is. It's just a total marketing scheme. It's just like, all right, how much money are we going to get them to spend? Jewelry, you have all these nice stuff. I mean, we have holiday movies. I wonder, oh my gosh, it's a big deal.
Is that because, do you not put emphasis on Valentine's Day because maybe you've been hurt in the past and it just hasn't been enjoyable for you?
Is that for me?
I've been single for over 2 years now. It's just like, I don't care about Valentine's Day. I mean, it's just like, well, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so romantic. Oh my gosh, it's Valentine's Day. No, it's another day, people. If I don't show you I love you every day, and I'm going to show you the only day of the year is going to be Valentine's Day, then it's game over. Then why am I even with you? Why am I going to spend money? No. Are you going to give me sex? That's all I'm here for.
Now let's go buy lingerie. Let's get down and dirty. Good to go.
My question is, can we get down and dirty every single day? Versus only one time a year.
I mean, that leads me to another question. How often should you be having sex with your partner if you have one?
I mean, I would have when I was with my partner. I mean, it would be between 7 and 10 times a day.
A day.
A day. Yeah, but keep in mind it was a long distance relationship, and when I was married with my ex-husband, okay, I'm giving way too much details. I mean, it was all the time because I have such a high sex drive.
Well, I think we're going to do another episode on sex with a therapist, so we'll touch on that at another point. But
what are you guys' intake on this?
I think that what's fun about Valentine's Day is it gives an excuse to, I think, spice things up in a way that's different, even if you think it's like commercialized, and whatnot. I think for the most part, like every guy I've ever known, they like just like something different that mixes it up. I think if there's a day where it's like, oh, we're gonna do red lingerie, or we're gonna do something with whipped cream and chocolate or something. It's a fun way to mix it up. It's a fun excuse to try something new and, bring something new. But even if it's your millionth Valentine's Day together, I think it's a good excuse to try something new and fun. I think there's a lot of, lower cost or free ways to just acknowledge Valentine's Day if it's not totally your thing, like coming home with some flowers, doing a dinner out or calling, a good meal in and picking a good movie on the couch, even if it's just that. I think it's a good thing, to acknowledge in some respect, and some people go harder with it than others, I guess.
So, Owen, is there anything that maybe in the past you've seen where a woman would do something special for you on Valentine's Day? I'm curious to know. I guess women typically, and I don't want to lump every woman into this, but women typically expect the man to do something. So I'm wondering if men expect women to do something too.
No, I definitely have never actually had like the Valentine's Day like treatment. When I've had girlfriends a handful of times, on Valentine's Day, I've been the one to buy chocolate, buy flowers, pay for the dinner or whatever. That's fine. I don't have any complaints or any regrets about that, but there's never been like, oh, hey, I'm going to give you, a nice watch or a nice X, Y, and Z. And kind of building on what you were saying, I guess it really looks different for every relationship because, some people are like, I need to go have a really nice dinner somewhere we never get to go to, make a reservation 6 months in advance. And other people are like, maybe we will get, down and dirty and get like, some like nice lingerie and like drink wine and order like, takeout. And for them, maybe that's like a memorable day. So it kind of like looks different for every couple. And like, as long as both people are like down, I mean, I feel like most guys will remember like, dang, like she did something so special that night. Like I'll never forget it versus like, damn, like $800 dinner killed me, It depends.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I want to switch directions with this. I know we were going to talk about Adam Levine.
Boo.
I know. So I guess anyone that's listening, Adam Levine, obviously, he sings for Maroon 5, cheated on his wife. And now I think that we're up to 4 girls that have come out and said, hey, he was messaging me as well. What I think is shitty is that he came out and said, yes, some of my actions were questionable, but I didn't actually cheat. What do you guys think about that? I mean, I think the consensus is you're kind of a piece of shit.
That's cheating to me personally. Like if I'm dating, if I have a partner and they're messaging other people, I can't believe how hot you are or something. You look so much hotter in person. Even if they physically have never touched that person, like I'm good off all that personally. Like I don't need that in my life.
Oh yeah. Charlotte, what's your opinion?
I think the intent is still there. I mean, like maybe it's just one of those, like you haven't come around to doing it yet, but you're trying to. He clearly wants to. I think he's a piece of shit. I think it is one of those tale as old as times where it's like, oh no, the guy with multi-millions of dollars, the rock star with all the tattoos, oh no, he's not faithful to his wife. So it's one of those where I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, like tale as old as time, but it's, piece of shit. And ugh.
What do you think?
Oh, go ahead. So then, I mean, I understand that, but okay, so there was an article, there was someone, I think Nicole was talking about it, that they both cheat on each other. Mm-hmm. So then who is actually victimizing themselves or, I don't know.
So just a little background on that. It was a TikTok that Perez Hilton had reposted from a girl where her ex-boyfriend was getting messages similar to what Adam Levine was sending to this girl that posted a video on TikTok. But so Bahati, who is Adam Levine's wife, was sending messages like that to her ex-boyfriend. And she was like, I don't have proof of it. I can just tell you what I read. So I do wonder, if you're in Hollywood, if you're making that much money, do you settle for something like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just kind of shitty if they were cheating on each other. But then again, we have polygamy, we have open marriages. So I guess it really could go either way.
I think a lot of people too in Hollywood have like almost like agreements where like, it's kind of like, look, we're married. It is, it's good for both of our public images. Like it makes sense for us to be married. However, if you want to do X, Y, and Z, do your thing. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. They have like an agreement. Like I'm cool if you're doing this. I'm cool if you're doing that. Or some people just stay married for many reasons outside of I'm actually in love with you.
Yeah.
So that's very possible.
Cindy and I, we've both been married, and I was married. We were together for 9, but married for 11 on paper. And I know we had a child and everything, and she was great and kind of kept us together a little bit longer than we should have. But I know, just speaking for myself, it's the comfortability factor. It's this is what we do every single day. This is my routine. This is what I'm used to. I'm just going to stay just because I can. You know, I'm not out there doing anything bad. I might not be happy, but you know, it's that comfortability factor, which is, it's unfortunate. But I think, I don't know if I can speak for Cindy or not, but I think we both got to the point where we were like, you know what, I choose happiness over staying in a crappy marriage.
I mean, in my case, I've gotten divorced twice. So the first one I really didn't care about. Okay, that one was a mistake. And he was my best friend, but I never loved him. That's the thing. And he was like, so, I mean, we became really close and all that, but my second one, I did really love him. And honestly, I couldn't tolerate the disrespect and the alcoholism in there. So I had to choose me and my kids.
Yeah, and I know when I was on dating, I remember people, and Owen, tell me your perspective on this, but just from a male perspective, but when I was on dating apps, I would put something like busy single mom. And I feel like that was probably a red flag to some people. What would you think if you saw something like that?
Yeah, without context, it definitely could come off as like almost like they're building in that like excuse for why they're gonna flake on dates, or maybe, you know, it's kind of like just letting you know already, like you're coming second or third, which is, you know, like it's fine. You know, obviously the children should always come first, absolutely. But I definitely think that can come off as like just letting you know, like my effort's not going to always be there, like providing reasoning. And some people are cool with that and some people won't. I personally, I don't know, I've never actually dated a mom, so I don't know. I actually have that filtered out to people with children, people who don't want children. Personally, I'm not in the position in my life to be able to raise a child. I'm just not. And that's not fair to, like, essentially, you know, when you date a mom, you're inheriting the children too. It's not like you can have the mother and not the kid. And that's just not fair to them. And I don't think that, you know, that is necessarily a bad thing. I definitely do think it's good to level set and have people like be on the same page, like in the beginning, but I could definitely see why that might not be as appealing to some people.
Yeah. Well, so going back to the whole Adam Levine, bullshit. I know that the first girl came out and said, you know, this is my truth. And she, you know, clearly named his wife as Victoria's Secret supermodel. So I'm curious to know, like, what you guys thought of the girl that actually posted it, because it seems like she tried to shop around her story a few different places too.
Yeah, I didn't like this girl. She didn't really come off as authentic. Do I think obviously the things that happened between her and Adam Levine? Absolutely. But I didn't really like how she tried to paint herself as like a victim. Like, I was young and naive and new to LA, and I'm like, whether you live in LA or Omaha, Nebraska, like, you know right from wrong. And if the man's married and you're sneaking around, like, come on. And then she had videos on her page of her like kind of laughing and giggling and like singing along to Maroon 5 lyrics and kind of like a smug, like, ha ha ha, like, I know things you don't know. And then she was like clearly showing off the story to her friends. And it was essentially like, you know, F around and find out, because these people were like, I bet, like, I'm going to get bread off of this. And she was like, oh, I don't want anybody making money off of me if I can't make money off of me. So that's when she came forward. But otherwise, she never would have. So she doesn't actually feel bad. Somebody was just going to beat her to the punch.
She probably just wanted her 15 second of fame.
Yeah, definitely not 15 minutes.
Well, she got whatever she wanted. She got the attention. It's here.
She did.
What about you, Charlotte?
Yeah, I think that it was an interesting video. It sounds like she was trying to shop the story around, and you see that a lot in Hollywood. I think she also has media acting aspirations herself. It felt very like griftery in a way, just trying to get her story out there for reasons that weren't just, you know, standing up for the other woman. It felt very trying to shop her story around. So it didn't feel genuine. I think if there was some element of, someone else beating her to the punch where, she wanted to control the narrative, I can respect that somewhat. But I as a whole, it felt like, young girl knew what she was getting herself into. I mean, you can Google Adam Levine and you'll know he's married immediately. I'm also, one other thing that just shocks me about all this is just the boldness of Adam Levine just in the DMs, and how he's so okay with like the paper trail. Like that's not so much like saying it's okay that this woman did it, but every interaction I've had with like a high profile public figure person, they switch to Snapchat very quickly, which is why you see those like, oh shit, he's using Snapchat kind of situations, because it's one of those things where things delete. Like I was just surprised at how bold such a high profile celebrity was, because so people just get so trigger happy with screenshots if you get something like that. So that was another thing that like kind of threw me off, just how bold he was. But that doesn't like excuse, the woman who came forward.
Or people use their burners. They'll use like a burner backup account that people don't even know exists. Or they'll have like a friend of a friend like message you. Like I know, I've a friend that plays in the NBA, and I know, like for example, at games, obviously he's on the court, he's playing, so he can't like go up to a woman in the stands and be like, hey, I think you're cute. Like, what are you doing later? So they'll have somebody like low ranking, like a friend or like somebody who works for the team, like I don't know, like a trainer, something who go up to somebody and be like, hey, XYZ would like to, see you after the game. Like, here's like, what's your number? And they'll like write it down and give it to them in the locker room or something. And that happens like a lot. So and they're not going to be messaging you off like their blue check verified page. They might message you off of like some blank profile or get your number through some back channel. Like they're like, a little bit more discreet, but the game is the game.
I know a lot of those celebrities, like they use NDAs for
Yes, they do. Especially like, me in real estate, I do the same thing. NDAs. I mean, I don't take pictures. I don't like, it's the same thing, but you're right about that, Charlotte, because it was like, when I saw him, like, is he an idiot? Like, even sending videos, like, you can always switch it to the disappearing messages. And it's just like, this guy cannot be smart. He just wanted to be caught or something, because you can't.
He didn't care. Some people don't think they're going to ever get caught. They're like, nah, she's not going to say anything. Who's like, I'm Adam Levine. What are you going to do to me? Like, it's like you get too big. You think you can't fail.
Yep. I totally agree. I mean, he looks like a bag from Chipotle anyways. I'm like,
he does.
He does.
So, yeah, it's interesting choice. I remember, what was it? It was the Super Bowl. I think it was probably the worst like Super Bowl game. It was like Patriots. I forget who else it was, but it was just that just interesting choice of tattoos. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm always looking. My sister's a tattoo artist, so I look at like tattoos pretty closely.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I wonder, I know celebrities do NDAs, but I wonder, like Cindy, you actually do NDAs when you start dating someone?
No, it's just when I work with different clients and all that. Depends on the level and all that. And they will research you completely.
Oh, I'm sure.
You gotta be careful and then be like, okay, so this is my phone. Unless they know you, they trust you, be like, nope, we're not talking about this. And like,
I wonder, and this might be a stretch, but I wonder if, people dating now should start doing NDAs. I mean, cause it's so easy. I know like for women specifically, we do our research. We will find the last time you ate at Wendy's or the last time you wiped your ass, like we will find it the fuck out. So like, I wonder, I don't know. I mean, I know whatever you put online is going to be public record anyways. So I'm curious to know, like, oh, and how do you feel about being researched like that? I mean, obviously that girls do it.
It's funny. I actually went out. Was it 2 Thursdays ago? Two Thursdays ago with a girl, and she like kind of let it slip, and that she did an open source background check on me on the way to the date. And I was like, telling her about myself, and I was like, yeah, I work in the consulting industry. I told her the company I worked for, and she was like, yeah, I know. And I was kind of like, really? And she was like, yeah, I saw it. She was like, I saw it when I was like looking you up. And then she was like, oh. And I was like, oh. And then it was like, I know it happens, but like for somebody to just outwardly say it, that was the first time I'd ever actually had it happen. And I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Was
so
that
I was like,
well,
well, Huh?
Was that a red flag to you?
It definitely was a little like awkward and a little weird. I mean, I understand. I get it. But it's also like, dang, I never like thought people would actually like outwardly say. It's one of those things like you expect that it happens, but to actually have it confirmed is like totally different. Yeah. And I'm like one of those people where I'm like, I don't know, I'm a relatively normal person. Like I don't, no traffic tickets, no arrests and things of that nature. And people are like, oh, I background check everybody before I send my kids somewhere. But it's also like, God forbid, things went left. There's no background check for that.
Yeah, that's true.
True.
Charlie.
So it's like you can only do so much. So, but I get it.
Yeah.
I pay $30 a month for a Been Verified subscription. I look up everybody.
Me too. So what did you find about me?
I haven't gone that far. I need to do more with. I do a little bit like less looking people up, but it's really more about like just the safety aspect. Like I've had some like weird stuff come up in the past, and then I also just it's nice to have like I have a friend who like fosters dogs and stuff, and she's like, oh, these people want to adopt this dog, can you look them up? And it's kind of nice to be able to do that. But there was definitely periods of time where I used to like look up everybody. But it's a good resource to have as a whole, just safety reasons. I'm 5'2", so.
Pow.
I know I have a 7-year-old, so I got the subscription to, I think it's Truth Finder, and just to make sure that the people I'm not going out with are sex offenders or somebody, they would meet my daughter anytime soon. But just to be safe, I don't want to put myself in an awkward situation.
So I'm a real estate agent, whatever. It doesn't matter. You guys can Google me. I mean, I can just pull all tax records. So it doesn't really for me, it's just like, okay, if I talk to you, I will pull all the tax records because I have access to that worldwide. So, I mean, on that point, and then I even Google my clients. I have to be really careful because I don't know who I'm dealing with. And with me, it's just like, I have so much content out there that you Google my name and you'll find everything. So it's just like that part. I'm a single mom. I'm a real estate agent. I'm an author. I mean, everything pops up, but I cannot control that because it's technically public information.
That makes sense. So I want to know from Owen and Charlotte, both of you, what is your worst first date story?
Go ahead, Charlotte.
No, you go first.
I think I'll pass on this one.
How about I'll go first and I'll set the bar somewhere and you can go from there and you can choose like an honorable mention. Oh gosh, so I've got two and they're all, it's always like the creepy ones because I think you can have awkward dates and like it's never like, oh, this was a bad date. I guess one that was more recent and this is super memorable and where what we were just talking about comes in. This was probably last summer. And it was someone, I think it was from a dating app. And usually I never do the whole I'll be out, but I think it was just one of those had each other's phone numbers like, oh, we're at the same bar. I met up with him. He was super cute. And then we went ahead and, I think we split and Uber to our own houses. I thought he was really cute, liked him, set up a date to go to the movies. I think it was like Top Gun throwback night, before, the new one came out. Really liked him. And then I remember, we went to, it was so the Cheesecake Factory was like the bar next to it. So not that I'm going on dates, like the Cheesecake Factory for like first dates technically. But saw his ID and realized like, oh, this guy goes by his middle name. Like I'd done the Google search of like, who is this guy? And I think I saw a few turkey trot times come up, and figured it was normal. And I was like, oh, okay, he goes by his middle name. Had what I thought was a great date, with him. And there were a few little red flags, just things where, he played football in college, but, he was from Virginia, told him hey, oh, my grandparents lived in Williamsburg. He said, oh, I hate that area. Or I hate College William & Mary. Figured it was a football thing. Took him I think 6 years to graduate college. Was kind of evasive about his story. And just figured it was one of those college football players take 6 years to graduate type of things. But just kind of some evasiveness as far as his history. And then, had that great date with him, on a Tuesday. We said, let's do, a wine bar. I remember he was going to a Pittsburgh Penguins hockey game or watching it with some friends. We were supposed to go to a wine bar after. And I remember like I was just trying to kill time. It was like, oh yeah, I should probably like look this guy up. And, you know, looked him up by his, you know, first, middle, last name, had been verified. And it turned out he had been on trial for rape in college. He was expelled from school. He went to that like William and Mary school. And that was why, cause he had gone to like the competing or the rival university. I think he like went to like James Madison. I'm giving too much information about him, but he'll never hear this. I've blocked him on everything. But yeah, he'd been on trial for rape. It was like some like college party incident. He played college football. It was a girl on the soccer team, like was on trial for it. It was found not guilty. But a few years later, I want to say it was like probably, you know, 2016 maybe or something. Like he had, like gone and like, he was arrested or something for like taking an Uber to like beat up his ex-girlfriend, like broke into her house, beat up her new boyfriend or something. And it was like very terrifying to just stumble across that. And it was one of those where it was like, what the heck do I do? Like, this is just so scary. And it was one of those, like, after that date, like, I remember I called my friend, like, chuckling, just, like, out of, like, hysterics. I'm like, what the heck do I do? Do I ghost? Like, what have I gotten myself into? Like, you know, I think he, like, dropped me, or he knew where I lived, and I was like, oh, shoot, like, do I ghost? Like, is the illusion of, you know, not being rejected better? Like, my friend was like, you gotta, like, tell him something. Like, what if he, like, gets mad that you ghosted? And I ended up making the decision to ghost. I'm like blocked on everything and just, you know, never spoke to him again. But it was just like one of those like terrifying things where it was like, oh my gosh, like where could this go? So that was probably my like worst experience. That was like in Austin. Yeah, so that's my bar pretty high. I also had, second place, another guy, like showed up at my Orange Theory class and like yelled at the front desk girl, when I like ran off because I was so scared that he showed up. That was after like a date that was like kind of lackluster. And he showed up at my Orange Theory class. So that was a scary one too. So mine are both creepy experiences.
Oh, and do you feel comfortable sharing your first date experience?
Yeah, I know there's one that's like the absolute like champion for worst one ever, but I told Charlotte about it. I'm not doing that on here.
No problem. That's okay.
But, I'll say a disappointing one rather.
Okay.
One disappointing one that I had, was like a couple years ago. It was like still during COVID, I guess. It was actually, no. It was right before COVID. And it's a lot. It was COVID. My time's all thrown off now. I feel like COVID's been lasting forever.
Yeah.
And, we had been talking on Hinge for like probably 2 weeks, FaceTiming the whole nine. You know, we did a video date that went well. We were texting for like 2 weeks, and she had gone on vacation for, they got a cabin. Yeah, they got a cabin out in like the, you know, like woods somewhere for like New Year's. And she was like, all right, when I get back, like, let's, you know, get together. And then she had like a COVID scare, waited all that, got together finally. And there was a place where you can rent out kind of like the heated, like igloo kind of things. And it was like $50 an hour or something. So I rented it for 2 hours, like $100, and was excited to, you know, spend time together and everything. And I personally thought the date, like, it didn't start off, it wasn't, you know, like, you have this dynamic connection on FaceTime and in text, but it doesn't really transfer over to in person. And I thought, like, okay, maybe, you know, she's feeling a little awkward, a little shy, and, you know, maybe things will warm up. Some people take more time to warm up. That's, you know, no big deal. And I guess she did one of those, like, if my friend, like, hey, call me in like an hour with the number, or text me and I'll let you know, like, you know, what the deal is. I think that's what happened, because all of a sudden her friend, like, had a flat tire in DC. The girl didn't have AAA. Her boyfriend's out of town. She needed to be the one to go do it. And I was like, oh, like, I have AAA. Like, do you need me to come help? Oh, no, it's fine. She just wants me to be there for her. And I'm kind of like, okay. Like, I kind of picked up, like, what was going on. I was like, no, I can help. Like, you know, like, if you don't want, you know, if you're going by yourself, I have no problem. We can, you know, or we can get together later, or, you know, whatever. And every time I kind of suggested, like, hey, like, I'll go, I can help. I have AAA. It's no big deal. Or, hey, like, you know, if you want to go take care of that, we can meet up later on. It was like, at this point, it was like 6:30. It wasn't even like, you know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So I was like, all right, like, you know, maybe let's say 8 o'clock, 8:30, we can like meet up somewhere and just grab a drink and like continue to eat, like forget the igloo. And there's always like a reason, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
There's like a counterpoint to my point. And I'm like, all right, like if this person really wanted to see you, they would have either been like, hey, come with me, or B, like, hey, like, let's meet up at 8 o'clock. Cool, no problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't need any, like, convincing. So the energy, like, it was kind of like, you know, very different in text versus in person. And then they, like, texted me, like, 2 weeks later, hey, I'm really sorry, da-da-da-da-da. Like, and I texted them later that, like, the next morning, hey, like, if you're interested, I still would like to see you again, but I understand if not. And she was like, yeah, I didn't really feel a connection. I'm really sorry. And I'm like, okay. And then she texted me like 2 weeks later, hey, I was in my head, like, would you want to see me again? And I was like, you know what, fine. This is on me. I should have never gone. And then, like, so she didn't do the same thing, but then, like, 4 days later, she's like, I didn't feel a connection. I'm like, okay. And I just, like, let it go. So
there's a lot of red flags with that one.
Yeah, I was just so hell-bent on making that connection work because of how dynamic things were on texting and FaceTime. It felt so natural, and I was encouraged, and I was like, yeah, this is, like, really great. And then I was just, like, blinded.
Did you have, like, someone else or a boyfriend? Was she married? Did you do a background check on her?
I don't do background checks, but she was not married.
I mean, you can actually type in the name and just, like, ta-da, it actually appears there. I mean, just same for a friend.
Can confirm she was not married, but no background check was done.
Oh, and what are some red flags that women typically give off?
Goodness gracious. I think if they have too many bad ex stories, even on either both sides, because it wasn't the fault of all your exes. Like, I feel like if people were like, my ex this, my ex that, and it's like every situation was the other person's fault, I'm kind of like, look, it can't always be somebody else's fault. Like, there's been a lot of situations where I've been in the wrong, and I can admit that. But, like, people who are unable to accept any type of accountability or blame is, like, a huge red flag. And then the people, it's like, they have, like, it'll be, like, notification silenced, and they take, like, 6 hours to respond every time. And I'm like, I don't know about that one. And they're like, I'm never on my phone, or I'm a bad texter. And I'm like,
oh, yeah,
that's not a skill. Texting's not a skill. There's no good texting.
I do have an excuse. Okay, I fly planes and I jump out of planes. And I have 2 little ones. But when I'm flying, I cannot be on my phone. I'm sorry, there's no texting and flying. You want me to crash and because, oh wait, you know, like he sent me a message. Look, give me a break here.
To be fair, Cindy, I believe you fly planes, you jump out of planes, but are you jumping and flying out of planes every single day of your life?
No, I will definitely give you a heads up and I'll be like, hey.
That's what I'm saying. It's like stuff like that.
Okay, so, but then again, sometimes I wake up and be like, you know what, this Sunday we're going to just jump off the plane. And I'll be like, hey, do you want to come along with me? If you don't want to come along with me, then so be it.
I think there's definitely a lot of nuance to it, because I don't think anyone should be like, text me 5 seconds later every time. No, I don't know. No. But if you're interested in somebody and you genuinely feel a vibe or a connection to them, you will communicate. That's one thing I'm like very adamant on. If you have to question whether or not somebody's into you, go with your gut, because you shouldn't have to doubt that or question that. And whether or not you're the busiest person in the world, you can be the best neurosurgeon in the world, you know, working 90-hour weeks probably, you will still be like, hey, busy day, sorry. Or you'll tell them some way, somehow. You'll figure out a way. Yeah, that's one thing I'm like, nah, I won't back off of that one.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And that's something that I've learned. I mean, it's just like, you can see if someone's interested with you, about you, if they're interested in you, even if they text or anything, because like right now, the guy from San Diego, I mean, like I said, no strings attached or anything, but we're texting back and forth all day long. I mean, he texted me and said, hey, you know, I'm going to be recording podcast from 6 to 11 today. He's like, okay, but he's still messaging me and he knows that I'll message him back after I finish.
Yeah, I don't think, for me personally, I don't think it's the quantity of the conversation that matters. I think it's really the quality. Because even if you talk for 10 minutes in a day, make that a good 10 minutes. Make it the best 10 minutes of your day. That really matters. And if that's not happening, it's kind of like, all right, well, I don't know.
Or send a little video here and there and, you know, like a picture, be like, hey, thinking about you.
You know, you love your videos.
I know, my videos. What's your snack, Charlotte?
Oh, I love the that was so sweet. I love it was when I got this, it's like, oh, this is different. And there's some people that do that, and it's like, oh, this is really, it's different. It's cute. It's sweet. And it's like, oh, well, this is like personalized. Yeah, I like it. And I think like, I mean, I can't speak from like male standpoint, but I think like guys would think it's like fun in like a different way. And I know when I've had guys do it, I'm like, oh, this is kind of sweet. But yeah.
What do you think about the video options on like Bumble per se? Like, would you ever use that?
I think like, I'm trying to think. So, there's this one dating app that like approached me that's doing like video format, like full screen, like TikTok style. And I think it's a really cool concept. I'm no longer like on apps. I think the Hinge voice prompts are always like, I think those have become kind of like the joke of TikTok right now. Like you just see people.
The screen record and play it. I'm like, oh, look what this person said. Like,
I gotta be careful with that now. Oh gosh, video.
Exactly. But I think like the everyday person, doesn't necessarily have like recorded like video footage of them, or like the apps like don't have it's like Hinge wants you in that like little square for video, and it's like it's not like good quality. I think if everyone had their own podcast like recording equipment, it might be a different story, but I think people might like decide against it. I think if you have good video, use it because it shows like your personality in a way that like pictures don't.
I agree with that completely. I mean, obviously I use that a lot for my work, and I like people to get to know me, see my interaction, like, hey, I'm real, I'm not a bot. And you get to know a lot about like, hey, you know what, I like their energy, I don't like their energy, what's up with that? Or like, you know what, no, give.
Yeah. I got one, I always thought it was nice. I remember on Hinge I got a couple like voice memos. And I actually did end up meeting up with the people that sent voice memos, except for one, because he had a very strange, almost like Borat mixed with like
Borat. That's a red flag. Forget about that.
Now, like, is this for fucking real? So I didn't know.
What's the difference?
But
an interesting voice, or just like the way someone talks, it makes a difference. Like the video context. Like it makes, like you see a lot, like now, and I keep talking about TikTok because that's just the platform I'm on, but just, couples that like meet over TikTok. Like there's one couple that I know of, and I think he put out something, his friend made the announcement, but met his girlfriend because he was looking for a date to the Machine Gun Kelly concert. And it seems like it was like they were able to like get to know each other's personalities in a way they wouldn't, if it had just been pictures. Like it was, she could see like his interest in fitness, he could see the same back, and like they could get a feel for each other's sense of humor. And I think it's a really cool, like, I think if we use more video, but then again, they were both, I think they both had like small followings, like a few thousand like TikTok followers. So it was like, they were comfortable on camera, both of them.
Yeah.
But they seem happy together. They posted like a TikTok together of them today at the gym. So they're happy.
I have a friend, he's on TikTok. He's actually going on a date, or he might have actually already gone on the date this week with a girl that he met on TikTok. And I think this is like one of like 4 that he's met somebody on TikTok rather than like a dating app per se.
And that's what I was actually we were talking to Owen earlier, which would be really interesting. But I think we actually have to, we're coming close to our time now. So we got to wrap it up. And I guess this is our special edition with your baddies, and we have our special guests, Dating with Owen and Charlotte, and follow us for more. Till next time.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.